The story is really a lot about our journey just from the beginning of just starting with smaller little flip homes, even just our journey as a married couple working together in business, but also just the struggle of being small business owners and the ups and downs, but also I think just the story of hope that, you keep pushing through. Eventually you get there and
hope. Listen to me.
Chip.
I got started in the infomercial business, so I don't really know how to ask you to buy our book other than like, hey, come down here Friday morning, 40% off on all books that Chip Gaines has personally written. And so when she talks about hope and dreams and aspirations, I don't even know what she's talking about.
That'll sell some books.
Wow, you have no fans.
What a crowd.
Zero fans.
What a crowd.
No one likes you. No one watches your show. I'm sure you've realized this being in New York, especially this press tour, how much people adore you and love you. Have you seen the uptick in fandom over the past few years?
Yeah, absolutely. We've definitely realized the sort of upswing that we're going through. We've actually done some internal studies. And so we have realized that the more people get to know me, the less they like me. So we
keep these interviews pretty short.
We try to hold this to about 5-10 minutes max, and then you guys seem to be at the pinnacle of liking me. And then after 10 minutes, it really falls off the table.
Well, I realized you guys were celebrities this morning when I checked your Twitter account and saw that you got to see Hamilton last night. I can't even get tickets to Hamilton.
Has anybody seen Hamilton? Man.
Like 4 people in this room have seen it.
Ryan Reynolds, and I see that Mr. Foley also saw Hamilton. It was a blast. Gosh, that what do you call that?
We all left crying.
You call that a play or a theater or a production?
Musical?
A Broadway production.
Broadway.
It was excellent. It was very powerful.
How to talk like you cool people.
Did anyone notice you at Hamilton last night?
Everyone noticed us. Yeah. Yeah, we were sitting in front of a young lady who was taking a selfie of her and her friend, and I photobombed it. And a lot of times,
she was the only one that didn't know who
a lot of people really enjoy that. A lot of people really.
She didn't enjoy it.
She had no earthly idea
She was
why.
offended.
Yeah, she was mad at me for doing that. So then all of a sudden her buddy, not the one she was taking the selfie with, but the opposite direction, was like, oh, I love this episode, you do this, episode you did that. So I started messing with this lady that she ended up being the only person in about a 20-yard radius that didn't know who we were. And of course, that was the one person I chose to photobomb and almost got slapped by a native New Yorker.
Fun.
Nothing like it. And of course, Joanna, if you guys read this book, which we're here to talk about, the Magnolia Story, it's incredible. We learned a little bit about your time in New York City and how you actually came here to study broadcast journalism.
So 16 years ago, I was here. It's funny, yesterday we were doing an interview at CBS, and that was my old stomping ground. So it felt weird. First of all, I feel old to say 16 years ago I was here in the big city, but
It was
this
so
is where I
sad
thought
to
I'd
find
land.
out that all the people that Joe worked with at CBS had actually deceased.
No, they haven't.
So sad. So the whole time we were just like having to hold our
Asking if
heart.
I could stop.
Really?
This
Hey.
is live.
Oh, sorry.
I may
Sorry.
want to go back to broadcast
Sorry,
journalism
Mr.
at
Rather.
some point. No.
Well, sitting here, I realized...
No.
Is Dan still with us?
Yes.
Oh, well then.
Wow. I'm really getting a glimpse into your relationship.
Very exciting.
And reading this book, I discovered how, Chip, you actually got to land Joanna, because I've always been curious, how the hell did this guy get this girl to marry?
Amen. Amen to that. Yeah, are you asking how we in fact
Tell us
landed?
all, please.
Oh my gosh. Lots of persistence on my part. She worked with her daddy at a automotive store in Waco, Texas, and I joked that I got my brakes done twice a month, whether I needed them or not, hoping to run into one of the beautiful Stevens girls. It's really interesting. They had a family photo. A lot of small businesses do that, and there were 3 Stevens girls that were in fact in this photo, and I was just like hopeful to meet any of them. I was cool with any 3 of them, so I really hit the jackpot when it turned out to be like the Kardashians. I mean, you just hang around the Kardashian clan, and any of the girls are really a home run. But I did. I got the who's the famous Kardashian? Then Kim, why did I want to say Nicole Kardashian? Is she a Kardashian?
Don't know much
I got the
about
Kim
reality.
Kardashian of the Stevens clan.
But in the book, you kind of explain that there was another guy. There was another guy actually that caught Joanna's attention.
We don't like to talk about that. Did we say that in the book?
Yes, you do. And I
The
was
funny
surprised.
thing is there was a guy called Hot John. It was Chip's best friend, and I was working at my dad's, and all the guys up front were saying, there's this really good-looking guy up front. You've got to at least go walk past him, see what you think. And I never do that. But on that day, I was like, fine, I'll do it. I'm walking through the showroom, and Hot John's sitting there, and he was cute. But then I was like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to stop and talk to him. So I kept walking out the door, and that's when I ran into Hot Chip.
I didn't know this, but behind my back, so this guy was my roommate, and this book is us telling the world, him included, that this
know.
in fact happened. He, to this day, didn't know that Joe actually came out of this, of her office, essentially, to go meet him, and I sure as heck wasn't going to mention it because I didn't want her to, bait and switch on me. And so here she went to go see Hot John, and I thought that was cute. I mean, he's a dear friend of mine. He's extremely handsome. I met Harry Connick Jr. the other day, and literally he looks a little bit, he's in that vein. So extremely handsome, beautiful, blue eyes. I don't mean to go on and on, but I developed a man crush that I didn't realize existed with Harry Connick Jr. As I looked at him, I just literally went kind of gaga. But all that to say, so Hot John, that was his nickname behind his back. And I knew that because he was my roommate, and that's funny. But I didn't know that everybody called me Clown Chip behind my back. I was so sad. Thank you all for that. And my wife accidentally ran into Clown Chip, and she didn't know what hit her. I mean, I laid it on thick and pretty aggressive right off the bat.
Oh, well, I'm sure Clown Chip is why you stayed with him, because he's funny and he makes all of us laugh, clearly.
Raise your hand if not the scary clowns that are getting all the bad press, but I mean good quality, good wholesome clowns. Raise your hand if you love clowns. All right, see who can't love a good clown, and that proved to be accurate with Joe and I.
Now, Joanna, do you still love Clown Chip?
I love it. I think I'm so serious. I'm kind of, I get my mind set on something and I just go for it, where I think Chip just really kind of brings me back to this place of, hey, have fun with it. And so I love his humor. Every day I deal with this.
If a clown and a cyborg had a show, it would be Chip and Joanna's reality television show.
In the book, you talk about why your relationship works, though. You guys are polar opposites in ways, but your relationship is so grounded and so relatable to so many people who watch your show. We watch for the home decor as well and the construction and design, but we also watch for you guys. So tell us how you guys make it work, and why do you think you're such a good pairing?
It's interesting. Joe and I we've got these pillars in our personalities or our life in general that are just so identical. But let's say out of 10, 3 of those pillars exist, and that sort of seams us together. But then if they were sort of like chart, 2 circle charts that come together, they meet pretty briefly, and then everything else is radically, drastically different on the opposite ends of the spectrum. And somehow those 3 pillars, we both love to work, we both have a really strong faith, we were both really extremely loyal individuals. We were always loyal to friends that we had, loyal to our family, and something about those 3 pieces of the puzzle really allowed everything else that was so radically different to kind of work, and even to this day, it's really funny when you get to hearing even about our upbringing, how similar both Joanna and I's parents were, but yet how opposite. Her parents had these, literally one of these multiple bolt lock systems that would go down the front door, and then a chain lock eventually that I think they got from like a hotel chain of sorts, and that's how they would lock the door at the night, just in case maybe the mailman wanted to rob or murder them. My parents, on the other hand, we would go out of town for vacation for like 2 or 3 weeks, and they wouldn't close the garage door. I mean, we'd just leave the garage door open because we were thinking, look, a neighbor might want to borrow the lawnmower. They might need some gasoline.
What does this have to do with her question?
My point is that isn't that interesting?
Joanna, why do you think this works? Because you're a saint. You're a saint.
Chip has always been really good at that. I think the first project we ever did together was our own fixer-upper, and I think that's where we really learned. We can either pull against each other or with each other. And for us at the time, it was this daunting project. We were on a tight budget. And I remember he was mad at me because I was probably spending too much money. I was mad at him because he didn't give me a big enough budget. And I remember till this day, one of our biggest arguments was in that first house. And so I think early on we realized we can either keep doing this and just exhaust ourselves, or we can pull together and look at this as something that we tackle together. And one of the things Chip always said was, when we're both coming against that, we're a lot stronger force. So I think early on we realized if we stick together and fight against the issues, we'll have a way better chance at it.
And that first fight, I recall, was about primer or something like that.
Awful. Have y'all
tell these lovely people a little glimpse into
anybody
this book?
heard this story about the primer? True story. So Joe and I couldn't have been married for a month or two. We, as Joe kind of implied, we both had full-time jobs. So we're working our tails off during the day, and then we would just argue all night long. So we wouldn't sleep. We would just go to work and work really, really hard, and then we would stay up and argue all night long. And so we did that for months and months, and we both lost about 15 or 20 pounds. We looked very gaunt, looked like we were going to pass away. All that to say, she gets this primer bucket, and
Chip, though, mouthed off. He said something a new husband shouldn't say, and I don't remember what it was.
Was it about your butt looking big in those jeans?
And it wasn't about my spaghetti either.
Don't say that.
He mouthed off, and I got mad.
She slams this bucket of primer down on the ground, and as gravity and God would have it, it came back up and hit her right in the face. And so literally this primer is just dripping off of her face. And my family, real animated, real passionate family, anytime something like that would happen, you'd just kind of, hey, time out. That's hilarious. Surely we can, work through this. I'm sorry. We would kind of break down. Her family, in fact, that they elevate the argument to a whole nother level. So Joe, beautiful, half Korean, literally turned into sort of like a ninja warrior of sorts, and she starts, flailing these roundhouse kicks towards my head, which, as we tell this story, a lot of people, because, abuse does really go both ways. And we're advocates. I am an advocate for that. And so here these roundhouses are coming towards my head, and I feel like the guy in Matrix. We're in slow motion. I'm kind of doing these back bends, but I remember as she's kind of wonk, I was like, I love this woman. I mean, this is going to work. And something real quickly kind of broke, and I think it was sort of in vain what Joe was implying there. We just realized we were spending so much energy and so much effort working against each other, and as soon as we turned that dial and started pulling in the same direction, we found out pretty quickly we were hard to beat.
Man, I want you guys to be my marriage counselor. They fight, everybody. They fight. So you guys are so busy. You have a Magnolia Journal now. You have the Silos. And the Fixer Upper, of course, and doing your jobs. Where did you find the time to sit down and write this book, and what inspired you to do it?
It's funny because I thought I would be the one writing the book. I thought that was something I'd always wanted to do, was write a book. And Chip, because he doesn't like to read or write, I thought he would have no interest.
Yeah, no spelling. No spelling is not my strong suit.
But the thing that Chip is really great at is storytelling, and his stories are pretty funny. I mean, I feel like it was just a book about me, it'd be about half a chapter, but I am...
According to the focus groups, only up to 5 minutes are my stories interesting to people, and then it really falls off. But anyway, keep going.
No, so... I think watching Chip really enjoy the process, really enjoy telling the story. I think it was just fun for both of us to really get to look back and reflect on all the ups and downs. And we've only been married for 13 years, which to some degree it seems like a lot. And then to another extent, it's like, well, we're just getting started. But just from a business standpoint, from raising 4 kids, there were just so many ups and downs. And without the downs, I think for us, reflecting back on that, we really grew to appreciate even the hard times. And I think that's the message that we're wanting to, share with others, is that if you're in that place, whether it's a small business or a family or a marriage, is to push through. I think if you just keep focused, push through, because there's hope on the other side. And I think that's that's part of what we're wanting to share.
Amen. It was really interesting. I've been following people on Twitter who have already read the book, and I started noticing a trend with all the people who had read the book. They kept saying what an easy read it was, and I didn't know what that meant because any book I've ever read was extremely difficult to read, and I found out that, yeah, I wrote that. I mean, of course, it's an easy read because these people would pitch back these modifications to the book, and I was like anybody would know what that word meant? I'd like to take this word out of my book. No way anybody could spell that. I just literally edited the book, and it turns out that it ended up being a very easy read for any of y'all who, like me, struggle with that process.
Well, I loved it because when you read it, you could really see your personality shine through in your parts because the book is them speaking back and forth, kind of, when you chime in, when Joanna has something to say. Was that what you wanted to do?
Would you describe it as an easy read?
No, enjoyable read.
I like that.
Yes.
We got to record the audiobook, which we loved. And of course, I read it word for word just because I don't think outside of,
Because she's a robot.
I'm a robot. Chip, if you actually compare the audiobook to the actual book, he's telling like a lot of different stories. Because he's not a great reader.
Do not read the book and
Don't
listen
do
to the
that.
audio version of the book simultaneously.
But it was really fun.
I swear to you, I would get so off track, kind of like I did earlier, where I forgot where I was going, and I'd look up, I'd just pop up out of the headphones, and the guy was like, "You're doing great." And I was like, "I'm just making things up, and you're totally okay." He said, "Yeah, it's great. I'm following you." So it was fascinating. They really let you get off track, and I appreciate it. If you listen to the audiobook, there were a few times where I was like cracking myself up, and you can hear, the emotion in my voice.
You're an improviser.
I was improvising heavily during my own book, which is so stupid.
Well, it must have been very special for you guys, though, to write this book and relive your history together.
We encourage everybody to write their story. I know that sounds almost a little bit trite, but there's something therapeutic about going back in your life and sort of rehashing some of the experiences that make all of us unique. Everybody's story is different, and ours is no different in that context. That when we started jotting these facts and figures down, it was really just a fascinating process of kind of reliving some of the wonderful times and some of the tough times that we've had together.
And seeing, the moment when you guys got Fixer Upper, where you got an email after someone saw a blog post of your design work, and Chip thought it was a scam. He was like, "This isn't real."
I got a call from someone from a production company, Katie Neff, and she had said, "Hey, do you and your husband want to film a show about what you two do in Waco?" And I remember thinking, that could actually be fun. And then when I proposed it to Chip at dinner, he said, "Don't call them back. You're going to owe them money. We're going to end up getting in some weird bind."
I thought it was a total scam. To show how bad my instincts are. Literally, I'm the most optimistic person on the planet. We were buying houses that were just so terrible ideas, terrible investments, generally speaking, and yet, this is a great idea, you're going to love it, wait till you get a hold of this, and the one opportunity of a lifetime. I joke with my friends back in the day that, I feel like Dumb and Dumber when they're driving down the road, and the one guy that they decide to pick up as a hitchhiker is the guy trying to murder him. It's like, that's the way I felt. The one opportunity of a lifetime I had. I was telling Joe that I thought it was one of those internet scams to where if you'll send them $5,000 or $10,000, you've inherited a fortune from Saudi Arabia or something of that nature.
And then, of course, you got Fixer Upper, and it's been a huge hit. You're going into season 4 soon, right? Next month? Yay!
Was it November 29th?
Season 4, November 29th.
And you've brought this humongous tourist, a field of tourists to Waco, Texas. What's that like for you to kind of change your hometown in a way? And you've brought so much to it, I'm sure.
It's been such an honor. I think, when Chip and I were dating, I remember thinking, I hope we stay here because that's, my dad had a small business there. And so when Chip started kind of planning his roots there and he'd started opening his businesses and doing real estate, we decided this is where we're going to plant ourselves. And, just seeing the growth even over the last 2 or 3 years has just been such an honor to be a part of. We love our town. That's why we chose it, 15 years ago. But now seeing all these people coming to the silos is just, it's surreal. And watching them, a lot of the times we get to see them like on the grounds and they're spending time with their family and friends, and we're seeing pictures from all over. It's a dream come true for us. The people are coming here and experiencing something. It just seems magical.
And you have a bed and breakfast, which I'm sure is booked for the next 15 years. I'm thinking you guys, living in Brooklyn, I think you need to open a hotel or a boutique hotel for all of these 35,000.
Love that. I like the sound of that.
Each room can be a different Joanna design. I want to stay there. I'm sure your B&B is overbooked, right?
It's booked for the year. We book it a year out.
I like the term overbooked that she used. We actually have guests come to town to stay there, and we accidentally had booked multiple guests there because the bed and breakfast business, very complicated. I do not suggest you just kind of limp into it like we did. But yeah, you gotta really think through the scheduling process. Another one of my week suits. And so that's funny that you use the exact term overbooked. I feel like she probably read that somewhere on what's the little site that you can go and review people in a negative way when you're done eating at the restaurant?
What is that, Yelp?
Yelp. She probably read one of our Yelp reviews.
Well, I want to play a little trivia game, and I want to see if you guys actually read your own book, or if you really know each other, which I'm sure you do, but... All right, Joanna, what movie does Chip say is sort of based on him in the book?
Top Gun? No, or
Wish.
Legends of the Fall.
Probably Legends of the
Tristan.
Fall. Tristan. My boy on horseback.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise are who most
not?
stories about myself are based on, in my opinion. It's like if you, a couple weeks back, Johnny Swim was here, and so Amanda and Abner, and they're the most gorgeous people on the planet. And when you meet them in person, you realize you look nothing like these two. But in your mind, I thought they were like our doppelgangers. I thought they looked very similar to Chip and Jo, but when you meet them, it turns out that's not quite the case.
I did that interview last week, and when I brought up Chip and Joanna, they said the same about you. So I like the fellow shout-out.
Did they say how beautiful we were?
Yes,
inside
they really did.
and out? Oh.
Inside and out. And I said, I agree. How late is Chip to everything?
Hour and a half
Yes.
late to everything.
What restaurant would Joanna meet her mom at for lunch?
What chain?
Oh, is it Wendy's? She would sneak out of her little local high school because she was kind of struggling. You know, her parents moved around a lot when Jo was growing up, and so her mom would kind of sneak her out of these leaving campus environments and take her
Bacon
to
cheeseburger.
Wendy's and
Fries and a Frosty.
Yes, fries dipped in the Frosty.
Yes.
Let's see. What movie does Joanna think she's sometimes living in?
Gosh, was that in the book? What movie
You
does
said
she-
your book?
was that in my book that I wrote? It was such an easy read. I must have kind of
Anything that was about me,
through
he
that
skipped.
section.
He was just only interested in the Chip parts.
Well, that is
I'm
the
sure.
truth. Do you know what the answer
No,
is?
I'm trying to remember.
Hold on. Give us a hint, but don't tell us.
Jim Carrey?
Oh, wait. Jim.
Renee
Liar, liar.
Zellweger? Yes,
Liar, liar.
The Truman Show.
When I was
Liar,
little.
liar.
Liar, liar was our first year of marriage. I would make things
No, it
up.
wasn't.
Well, because I would tell you about these businesses that I operated,
That
but I
would
didn't
work?
tell her that they were not for profits. I mean, she really, for the first year, she thought I was rich, and sad after she balanced my checkbook after the first 12 months that she was sadly mistaken.
How much cash did Chip carry around with him?
All the cash he had in the world.
Which was always
$120.
$1,000. What? No, it was like $1,000.
It was. I have $1,000.
Do you have
He
1,000?
had like
I was gonna
30
say.
ones and then one 100. And so when he pulled it out in the wad, you thought that was a lot of 100s. It was really just a lot of ones.
And it was so funny.
Tricky.
I was
That's why I
always
thought he was
such a
rich.
I was always such a gentleman. I would stand up, so we'd go to these
a
restaurants. I
bragger.
don't know why I always carried cash. I thought that was a thing, and I liked doing that thing. And so I would always stand up at these restaurants, and I would pay, and
But on our first date, it was like this thick. So I was like, whoa.
What's he
Sugar
doing for a
daddy.
living? And you leave your door unlocked.
I know
That's safe.
exactly. So if any of y'all are burglars, I would definitely be a good candidate to tackle at the end of this show.
What are two jobs Chip had in college?
Lawn mowing business and the wash and fold.
And you did something with Scantrons, which I thought was great.
And he sold Scantrons to the students at Baylor University for $1 less than the professors were charging.
So sad. I don't know. Any of y'all students currently, I don't even know if they still use Scantrons, but in my day, this was a thing, and you would go to these tests, and there was, in this particular class, probably 200, 250 students, so very similar to what you see on the television, to where it's just almost like an amphitheater full of seats, and then the professor was this distant little dot, and so here I was a sophomore, I was a transfer college student. So anyway, I started off as a sophomore, and so here I was in this big giant auditorium, and this lady, bless her heart, I mean that, not sarcastically, she was just, hey, if you forgot your Scantron, I've got Scantrons up here at the front, and they were like $2 a piece, and it was almost like punitive damage, because you could go to the bookstore and buy these things for like 10 cents. Well, she was selling them for $2. And so after a week or two of watching all these kids, I mean, it was like a flood of students would go down and buy these stupid Scantrons that were 10 cents, and everybody knew it, but for $2 a piece. And so this poor lady announces this one particular class, hey, I've got Scantrons, who forgot? She was like getting giddier and giddier as the semester went on. And I stood up and I was like, my Scantrons are only $1. And all of a sudden, I mean, this sea of students, and I'm a first year semester at this school, and all these students kind of turned to me, and I remember trying to figure out how to take all their money. So anyway, it was hilarious. And I went, out that night, and we did a lot of things we regretted.
You're a true entrepreneur, Chip. Well, I have to get to some audience Q&A, so who is first?
Hi, my name is Lauren, and I'm actually alumni of Baylor, and I live in New York, so I think we should do a proper Sick'em.
All right. Hey, Sick'em Bears.
Woo. So I'm
Sorry,
That was
that's
weak.
really nerdy. Unless you love the Bears, then it's really exciting. That's our thing.
6-0.
All right, there you go. Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Yes. So
Go
my
ahead.
question is, I'm actually in real estate in New York, and
Wow.
I go into a lot of apartments that need some TLC. Have y'all ever considered as like a fun project fixing up like a New York apartment? Granted, you're going to probably have like 400, 500 square feet, like for whatever.
We
for,
did
like-
find out pretty quickly that if we sold the farm and all the assets that we've accumulated over a 20-year career, and I don't mean to brag, but it's a fairly lucrative career, we could in fact sell all of those assets in Waco, Texas, and buy a one-bedroom, one-bath apartment here in New York City. So we were, we considered that. We really did. We thought that would be a fair trade. But
We'd
go
love
ahead.
to.
Go ahead. Would we ever come to New York City?
One day, I think one day when the kids are older, I think that would be my dream, is to get my hands on one of these brownstones. I think it'd be hard to sell because I'd want to end up keeping it, but I think this place is magical, and those places have so much history and character. I think we'd love it.
And every time we come here, we're always inspired. We're always encouraged. The city is just so beautiful, so many moving parts, so much diversity, so much uniqueness that every time we go back home, we always feel like we've taken a little piece with us.
Clearly, it will be my brownstone they renovate.
Yes, you are first.
My brother is actually moving near Waco in June.
All right.
I know. I'm like, we got to get Chip and
Where's
Joanna.
near Waco?
Dallas.
Dallas, yeah. So I was from the Dallas-Fort Worth area originally. Speaking of Dallas, where's your hot mom? she in the audience?
Oh my God, Mom, I'm looking in the camera. She's
where?
gonna die.
Oh, all right.
Wave at the camera.
I
Well,
cannot believe
My
it.
dad's here.
Oh,
That's a light. That's
I
not
knew
a
I
camera.
recognized you.
Hi,
All right.
Mom had to work today.
All right,
but I
fair
got
enough.
a book signed for her, everybody. So.
Last
Chip
time
finds my
we were
mom very
here, we
attractive.
were, not accustomed to the interview process, and I saw her mom down in the front row and told her how attractive she was, and then her father proceeded to beat the crap out of me. But we've worked it out. We're back to normal, and so I really miss your beautiful wife.
We'll really get close when you guys renovate my brother's place. All right, who's next?
Hi, I'm Julie. I'm from Austin, Texas, and I'm
Hi.
moving to New York in January. I just want to tell you, I went to the grand opening, the soft opening you had at the Silos, and it was amazing. And I got your candle, and I love it. And I get so many compliments on that candle. When people come to my house, it's like the best scent they've ever smelled. So I just want to know what other products you're coming out with in the future.
Great question. Thank you. And thank you for coming to the Silos. What an honor.
So we have a few collaborations. We've got our rug line and our paint line, but we also have, it's funny, I start getting dizzy. We've got wallpaper coming out, but it's not your typical wallpaper, so be on the lookout for that, and accessories. But I think the whole idea behind these collaborations were, if you can't make it to Waco, even with a magazine, this is our way of trying to, hopefully inspire people with design. on a national level, so that when you get the magazine, when you read it, you're inspired to open up your home during the holidays, whatever that is. And so because we can't make it to every city, and we'd love to, we love the idea of helping people with their homes, but we're in Waco, Texas, and so I think that's why a lot of these collaborations made sense for us, because it's our way of helping people but still getting to stay home.
Right here.
I'm Dawn from Long Island, New York. Also a shiplapper from the Magnolia Street
All
team.
right. Thank you for your hard work.
We had such a great time promoting and
Wow.
spreading the word about the book.
Sure.
We really did.
Have you heard any, how's it going?
Great. It's
Okay.
number one, right? Number
I-
one.
that's what I was curious.
They
I've
said
been-
as of yesterday, it was number one. on the
Okay,
Amazon
how
list.
exciting.
Yeah, so we're
Wow.
all very excited. Very
Okay.
excited. But my question is, have you considered franchising the Magnolia market at all? We need one on Long Island.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot. I think that was something that was really interesting to us a couple of years back. We started the online store, so that was kind of similar to what Joe was referring to, just giving folks the opportunity to sort of step into our universe, but without us having to be all places at once. But I really feel like recently our model has changed. I mean, we want people in our hearts, and this has nothing to do with anybody else's hometowns. I mean, we love people who love their hometowns. That's sort of our passion. But for us, our hometown is Waco, so we want y'all to come and visit Waco. We want opportunities to where the media comes to Waco, Texas. When we do interviews, obviously here we are in New York City, and for a reason, because we were able to do a lot of these in a short period of time. But typically, folks come to Waco and interview us at kind of our hometown, if you will, our backyard. And so all that to say, we've kind of decided, you know what, we're going to stick with the local model, and then we're going to take our products to the masses via some of these partnerships that Joe was describing. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Great question.
I told Johnny Swim that I'm going with them to the farmhouse.
All right.
To go to Waco, Texas.
Hey, you were welcome, and dinner is going to be on us, and she's a fantastic cook.
Oh yes. I'll have to make you guys dessert. Okay, we have time for one more.
Hi guys, my name is Luis. I'm from New Jersey. I wanted to thank you guys, first of all, for inspiring my wife to do all these home renovations and forcing me to pick up a toolbox. No, but in all honesty, it has actually gotten me interested in it, and I've become a fan. So I appreciate that. So my question to you is, separate from the fame and the celebrity and the TV show, what was your biggest learning lesson in business?
Great question. We were in business for nearly 10 years before the show came online. What do you think our biggest for me, it was just persistence. I mean, we learned early on. We went through some really tough spells, and we talk about a few of them in the book. But, and anybody on the planet, but especially people on the planet who were in the real estate industry, 2006 and 2007 was where the tidal wave hit. But it sort of took a while to actually infiltrate the middle of the country. So here we were in Waco, Texas, and I mean, 2008 was a great year. 2009 started to get a little turbulent. You could feel it, but 2009 and 2010, it hit. I mean, it came and set foot on our little hometown in Waco, Texas, and I mean, it knocked the wind out of a lot of people. It knocked the wind out of a lot of people across the country, but here we were in a fairly insulated little market, and we started noticing that banks were retracting loans that we had already agreed to. Agreed loans had been cut in half. So let's just say, to keep the numbers generic, you'd go borrow $100,000 to do a project. Well, during the project, they would call you back up and say, in fact, the line of credit is only $50,000. Well, when that happens to you in our universe, we just learned never quit, never give up, don't lose hope, don't turn on each other. That was one of the relationship lessons that we learned, is just, when we're pulling in the same direction, we're just so much more powerful. And so I would encourage you and your, did you say girlfriend, fiance? Wife. All right, you and your wife. It's just as humans, you get to picking on one another's shortcomings and weaknesses, and the quicker you can get through that and get to the point to where you guys are pulling in the same direction, the more successful you two will be in business and as a married couple and in life in general. So great question, but yeah, that was kind of our lesson learned in business.
Sweet.
All right.
And it's great to see that you guys have inspired so many people to buy shiplap and do their own home renovations, which is great. Well, everybody needs to go get their copy of the Magnolia Story. And then Fixer Upper's back next month. Yeah. They have Magnolia Journal. They got the Silos. I mean, guys, what else? Anything else you'd like to talk about?
Anybody been to the Silos besides this young lady? 5 or 6? 7 or 8 folks. Wow. And I mean, when you think about it, I mean, what a honor for us to invite y'all to our hometown as our guests. And we're really trying to create an environment that we hope, and I mean this very sincerely, you guys are on national television, so I mean, feel free to express your honest opinion. I mean, what could go wrong? But of the folks who went to Waco, Texas, and Magnolia specifically, how was it? Was it a great experience? Did you enjoy it? Amazing. Wow.
Thank you.
Sure.
Sweet.
Amen. Well, we spent many weeks training these people who were really terrible people. They were mean.
Oh, stop.
They were mean-spirited.
He's trying to end well. I'm trying to talk him into another child, but that'd be good on the list, wouldn't it? He's not interested. She was asking what else is going on, and I said, another baby.
Baby number 5?
Yeah, right.
Number
He's too scared.
5.
All Chip's got to do is go back to that one, what was that store? The antique shop.
Oh, yeah.
Strip down again, eat a cockroach, and you're set. Joanna will be all over you. Thank you guys so much for stopping here when you're in New York.
Thank you, guys.
We love you guys.